Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world right now. This is Ambrose Wang of the Raw Entrepreneur. And today I have Dr. Isla Fishburn from the UK joining us for our once a month circle of conscious caregiving for animals on Mindvalley. And I really want to welcome everyone for joining us today. Thank you. Um, so Isla, for I think some of you might not know, she is like my my she inspires me. She's like a mentor to me. I'm very honored to call her a friend as well. She started out, she's a brainy, sciencey kind of person. And I can't even remember what other title she has in the back, but she's a conservation zoologist. She's worked with wolves. Um, Gosh, that is the one thing that struck me years ago. You worked with wolves, and I thought that was like super cool. And she's made a crossover um, to being a practicing shaman and a guide to pet owners and a bridge between pet owners and their canine companions. But she also works with other animals as well. But she's honestly one of the first people that I interviewed in the very start of my podcasting adventure, and I'm just so touched that she's with us today. So thanks, Isla, for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Amris. Honestly, you big me up far too much. Much gratitude for that. But yeah, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. Right? I always love our little monthly circles, so it's really really nice to be here. Thank you for having me back.
So just to catch up with a lot of people, Isla has a couple of dogs. One of them is actually her companion guide or her spirit guide. I'm not even sure what I should call Tunkasila. It's like her spiritual partner, uh, s- you know, and she has been busy with being a pet owner as well as a business owner and a teacher and a guide. So maybe I'll let her share her journey with Tunka with everyone.
Thank you so much, Amris. Yeah, and yeah, we just have Tunkasila now because we lost Charlie the 27th of December. So I used to have many many dogs, and then we just through our dogs aging got less and less and less, and yeah, our dear little Charlie Beanbag Christmas Pants, as we called her. Yeah, she transitioned on the 27th of December. So we're just out at Tunkasila, but Tunkasila is the dog that I started with. So she's 13 and a half now, and I got Tunkasila when I was doing my PhD. So I'd completed my zoology degree, done my masters, and then I was doing my PhD in conservation biology. And I've always had this fascination with nature, with wildlife, being around wildlife. And so it was always my intention and curiosity to want to experience what it's like living with another animal, like living with a different species to human. Like, what is that like? What does it feel like? Um, how can I interpret their world? How can I learn about myself through their eyes as well? And so that's kind of really why I got Tunkasila. And it really threw me in this weird kind of mix, dance, curiosity, frustration, confusion of the conditioning or belief system or opinion um, of what life should be like when we coexist with it. Well, it's not even for way back then, and still for a lot of people in the industry, it's not even about a coexistence. It's just like, okay, you've got the dog, a dog lives with you, so how do you get the dog to respond, to behave, to not do or to do? And I was like, wow, this is like, even I can feel how suffocating it is for this animal. And I always remember when I first took so I took Tunkasila to like my very first dog training class, And I was just like, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me, because the trainer at the time, he was all very into like, oh, I've been a judge in this, and I've won crufts here, and I've won this, and I'm a judge here. But one of the things that he wanted us to work up to do, and one of the things that he was asking us to do, was he wanted our dogs. So we're in this room with all these different people, and he wanted our dogs. He wanted us to put our dogs in a down and stay, right? So like, ask your dog to be down, which I totally don't even explore anyway. Like, I'm perfectly happy if a dog wants to sit, the dog can sit. If the dog wants to lie down, the dog can lie down. But it's not even something that I even explore. But he wanted us to put our dogs into a down and stay, and then us all to leave the room, and the dogs stay in that down and stay for like 5 minutes. And I was like, yeah, but like, what? How does that make my dog feel? Like, what is my dog feeling, sensing, experiencing? Like, I want to know from her perspective how that makes her feel, by asking her, like, I can imagine in an emergency, if I've dropped some glass and it's shattered, to be like, okay, wait there, stay, like, I need to pick up the glass. But in what situation, like, she's not a working dog, even that from perspective, so what situation would I ever want her to be in this down and stay, but then me to walk away from her, and for her not to know when I was coming back, what was going on? Like, so I really was asking him, like, but from her perspective, how is she feeling about this? Like, what is her experience? And he was just like, well, it doesn't matter, just get her to do it. And I'm like, no, but I can't get her to do it. Like, I need this information. I'm curious. I'm not trying to have an argument with you. I'm just curious as to what does this feel like for her? Like, surely, like, what does it feel like for all these dogs, where all of a sudden their guardians are going through a door and they're being left in this room, and like, what does that mean? And he was just like, I don't care. Like, just get her to do it. And I actually just walked away and never went back. And it was really that kind of started my journey of this exploration of what our belief system, what our perception, what our expectation is of living, or from my perspective, coexisting with another animal. And this is why it kind of brought us into full circle with what Amorous and I talk about of, for me, it's like, how do we live? Like, what does it mean? What does it feel like? How do we explore living consciously with our animal friends, living consciously with our companion animal friends, and from this wider perspective of consciousness, to understand that, yes, as a physical animal, a dog, a cat, a horse, a gerbil, hamster, guinea pig, whatever animal we're coexisting with, they have a certain level of intellect from the brain, but as a vibration, as a conscious being that we all are, they have their own level of consciousness and intelligence. And how are we capable, how are we able to tap into that, to explore from their perspective? And it really, really took me to this time. And this is what I want us all as animal professionals and animal or companion animal guardians to understand, of how often we are speaking, expecting, assuming, guessing, even with really, really good knowledge of what it's like for the animal, rather than actually getting to a place and a process where we can just ask them. It's a different way of asking. It's a felt asking, but it's still a receiving through this consciousness, through this intelligence. And it really takes me back to a time, which I think Amorous wants me to talk about today, of like what it was like for me as a child, when maybe my parents, but not necessarily parents, maybe just adults in my circle, whether it was family, whether it was friends of the family, whether it's even maybe teachers, but as a young child, like, just people spoke on my behalf when what they were speaking I didn't feel was right for me, or it wasn't correct, or I wasn't even allowed to have opinion, or someone just assumed or guessed or just made that decision for me without going, hey, like, I'm here, I'm alive, like, I can observe, I know what's going on. Why don't you just ask me? Or why don't you just ask me, like, how it makes me feel, if I'm okay with this, if I want to wear that coat or that coat, if I want to hug that person or that person, if, why am I getting angry, or why I'm crying, or even being told to, like, stop crying, shut up, we don't care. Or another perspective of these agreements, like, we just make these agreements of, a mother, a father, an adult saying to a child, like, oh, sweetheart, don't cry because it makes me upset, and, you don't want me to be upset now, do you? And of course, as a child, we're like, oh, I don't want to upset anybody, so, okay, I better not cry, therefore I'll just not cry ever again. But then how that affects us as well. And I just see it time and time again, how the things that we were told, the how we were spoken to, or how adults shared with us, or what they placed into us, from our childhood is then actually how we mimic that in the way that we coexist, or maybe not us in this group, in this teaching, but how so many animal guardians do kind of then just speak to their companion animal, their animal friend, how we were spoken to, how we were told when we were children, and then it becoming even more limiting from that place of this belief system of this is what an animal should be or shouldn't be, should do, shouldn't do, can like, can't like. And that's why, as I say, when we access this wider consciousness, which I know people in this community anyway, we're there, we're exploring, we're feeling, we're experiencing. But that is, I mean, that's just universal. That's not specific to humans. It's universal for all of life, for all of life, including non-human animals. And so how we tap into that wider consciousness to understand and to hear, literally hear from our dog's perspective or our animal's perspective. So we get an understanding and a glimpse of the wider consciousness that we are part of, but also what life is like for those animals that we are in partnership, that we're in relationship with.
Thanks, Isla. That, yeah, that's exactly it. Um, Now, for those who don't know, Tunkasila is like a hybrid wolf dog. So she's like a ginormous canine. How old is she now?
She's 13 and a half.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's actually transitioning, um, with her body's aging as well, right now. So it's a challenging time for Isla, actually. And today, normally we have 1.5 hours, but because Tunkasila is actually requiring a little bit more care, so we're gonna try and cut short the time for today's talk to about an hour, um, so that she can spend more time with Tunks. But would you mind sharing, what is it like to have a companion animal for so long, and you've bonded with her because she's like your heart, your soul dog, um, and you're an entrepreneur, you have a business and you're traveling and stuff, and when her body is actually aging, um, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, to put it bluntly, she is transitioning, so but we don't know when she's
Mm-hmm.
going to cross over. Yeah, so how do you deal with all this uncertainty?
Thank you so much for asking that question. And yeah, it's such a powerful question. Because yeah, we've been on this really beautiful journey, Tunkasila and I, of oh yeah, since she was a puppy. And there was a point in my life where I mean, there was a point in my life where I was going to end my life. I just got the point where I'm like, I'm done. Like, that's it. I'm done. And it was actually Tunkasila that was my lifeline, because I was like, oh, but I can't, if I'm not around, then like, what's going to happen to her? Who's going to take, I cannot, yeah, I can't let that be her fate. So she literally at one point saved my life. And there's something really beautiful, well, there's something really beautiful about all animals, right? But of course, when we, like, the animals that we live with, of course, better than anybody else's, they're like, oh, but they're our favorite. But there is in the work that I do, so I kind of blend everything together. So I'm a scientist, I'm a canine wellness practitioner. So there are times when I just want to look at behavior that's not true. I look at the entire circle, the entire wellness wheel, as I call it. But in the work that I explore, the work that I teach, there is a concept that I talk about called functional character, which is kind of applicable to well, just canines. It might not be, but my focus really is on canines. So functional character kind of describes, because dogs are social group animals, so functional character kind of describes when pups are born in a certain litter, they actually have this particular functional character, which is their functional purpose, their functional role that they serve within that group, that it's there, it's within them. So one of the things that I do is I explore the functional character in dogs to explain, like, okay, this type of individual, it makes sense why this individual is its social network is a little bit smaller, or this individual is really quite relaxed around all situations, or this individual is really quite hypervigilant a lot of the time. So it's not just looking at functional character, but that's one of the things that I look at. And like Amra said, is it's really interesting because in terms of Tunkasila's functional character, so irrespective of what she is as a soul being and her soul journey and connection with me, just in terms of her physical being that she is and her functional character, she's what I class as a guide. And so for all of her life as a guide, guides are really, really independent. So they're very much like, okay, so you're my humans, and I have a few outside humans, and I know a few dogs. Why do you want me to be friends with anybody else? Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. So for them, it's always about value. It's always about like, and why should I do this? Why should I do that? And it makes them very, very independent. So she's been fiercely independent like all of her life. Like, sure, we've had a lot of adventures and journeys, and of course, like we go out for very long walks and this beautiful connection together. But it just means her neediness throughout the day, her need for my attention has not really been there, because she's just like almost like when a child starts to get more and more independent, like, I can do this on my own, I can do that jigsaw, I can tie my shoelaces. She's always like that. And so now she starts to age, right? So it's really interesting being with not only a dog that is getting into those senior years, but also a dog that is a guide who's been very independent, very like, yeah, I'm fine here, I'm fine doing this my own thing, yeah, you guys go out, it's fine. To then be like, it's almost like Amra said, it's almost like I've got this 2-hour window, and then she's like, I really need you, I just need you to just be sitting with me, just touching me, just here. There's this vulnerability that's really coming through, this sensitivity, which is really interesting, because again, it's shaping how I navigate around my own journey with Tunkasila and my own exploration of this wider consciousness of how things are changing. And so things are changing all the time. There's one thing that I always say, which is the only thing in nature that is constant is change. So I'm always accepting of change, knowing that change occurs all the time, heartbeat to heartbeat. But now this exploration of how do I consider in my work, like Amra shared, because I mean, not so much with 2020 and 2021, but things are opening up again now, right? So, yeah, how I consider my travel and how I consider Tunkasila's needs. And this is what I go to with tapping into the wider consciousness and intelligence of what everything is. And so on the 27th of December, we lost Charlie Beanbag Christmas Pants. And on the 28th, so the 20th of December, like there was this change, like Tunkasila is becoming more and more kind of dependent on us, but on the 20th of December this kind of bigger change came, where she was like, just like, I'm not really bothered about eating, just looking a bit unwell. And of course the correlation is going to be, right, the pattern's going to be, well, we've just lost one of our dogs, like Tunkasila is going to be grieving, she's going to just be sad, she's going to be pining, of course she's not going to want to eat. This makes total sense. It's to do with because she's lost a companion friend. And there would be part of me that would explore that myself, and part of me did. But when I connected with her, just with her soul, just to kind of say like, hey, what's going on here? Like, are you dismissing Charlie? So Charlie and Tunkasila haven't been companion and friends for all of their life. They got together when Tunkasila was 5, and that's when I met my husband, and he had Charlie. And so there's not kind of like grown up together since they were pups. But still, I was like, are you missing Charlie? And she was just like, no, like, I already connected with Tunkasila to share with her what was happening with Charlie, and she was like, yeah, I know, which is what Tunkasila knew with when we lost our other dog, Cola, in 2020. So she knew what was going on, she knew about that, and she was like, look, I'm sad for you guys, like, you guys, you're sad, you're grieving, like, yeah, I'm feeling your sadness, and so I'm sad for you, but there's a different understanding of saying her own goodbyes to Charlie. So I was like, okay, well, what's going on here? And it was really beautiful, because how she showed it to me was, she was like, look, Charlie was at end of life. It is really important for me and my husband Stevie to be there fully to support Charlie as she was going through end of life. And it was inevitable. She was just day by day by day. It was clear she was going to pass very, very soon. And Tunkasila was just like, look, I've been holding something because I've been able to hold it so that you could put your attention and focus onto Charlie. Charlie's not here now, so I need to share with you that, yeah, there's something not quite right in me. And so that kind of carried on and is carrying on. And so carried on into the early weeks of January, and I was to go away to somewhere really important. I had a really important workshop to be part of, and yeah, it was just really important and really I was really ready for it as well. So I was supposed to be going away, and I couldn't make a decision, right? I was like, I'm supposed to be going away. Tunkasila's not well. We've recently lost Charlie. I just don't know what. I cannot make a decision here. I don't know what to do. So I was like, well, why don't I just ask Tunkasila what's right for her? She's part of this. She's part of my family. I coexist with her. Again, going back to that, what I expected of a child, like, how would that child feel? How would I feel if I wasn't very well, but my parents just made a decision about how I felt or how I didn't feel, and that would be okay anyway? Like, that's what we are doing, or unconscious of it, unintentionally so, that's what we can be doing, I should say, with our animal friends. So I just went into that space and just said, like, this is a situation. I'm going to be away for five dark nights. So I always make a point of saying the 5 dark nights, because when I used to do these connections previously, and I'd be like, okay, so for 5 sleeps, I'm going to be away for 5 sleeps. What I realised is that can confuse animals, because of course, cats, dogs in particular, or I guess even hamsters or other animals as well, their sleep pattern's different to ours, right? So we know, like, we're awake during the day and then we go to sleep at night. So that is like when we're asleep. But for dogs, cats, for example, they could be asleep for 4 times during the same day. So I realised when Tunkasila was getting like a bit confused, I'm like, what's going on? She was like, well, I've been asleep, but you're still here. Like, I'm really confused. And I'm like, oh, no, not when you've been asleep, when I've been asleep. So it's always, for me, like, this wider conscious, right? Always learning. Like, I really will say, like, I'm here as a professional, right? And I know nothing. Anyway, I sat with Tunkasila and was just like, hey, like, this is the situation. I'm going to be away. I'm going to be still in the country, but really quite far away from home. And this is how long I'm going to be away for. What is it that you need? What is it that you need? And, you know, she shared with me, she was just like, too many days. Too many days, I need you here. And it was so beautiful. But even in that moment, there was, in a millisecond, just for a millisecond, but it came to me, that thought came to me of like, but she'll be all right. She'll be all right. She's fine. Like, she'll be all right. My husband's around. Like, she'll be fine. And because I really, really want to go away, right? But that's kind of the teaching in itself of, we choose to coexist with the animals that we coexist with. And so therefore, to really honour them and for them to be part of our family truly, fully, wholly, and for us to be coexisting with them, we are in partnership with them, we are in a relationship, and a relationship is 2 ways, right? It's, as we know, with our own children or friends or family, husbands, wives, whoever, it's like, it's always about, hey, this is what feels right for me, how does it feel right for you, and how do we come up as a compromise, or how do we just hear everyone's opinions and then make a decision from that? So I was like, who am I to deny? Like, I've just asked a question to Tunkasila. She's given me from a place of authenticity. Our animals cannot lie. They do not lie. And equally, they do not exist from judgment or blame or shame or criticism. I can absolutely share that with you. But I was like, who am I to ask her this question? And she gave me this honest answer, which was, do you know what? I need you here right now. And then for me to go, but you'll be all right though. Which, again, took me back to all those times as a child when I was like, I kind of need an adult that I really know. Don't leave me with this auntie that I don't really know. Like, I need another, you'll be all right, you're just a kid. And I was like, wow, like, we do that so often, again, like, with the greatest of intentions, but then not maybe looking deeper of then how it affects our animals, or how it changes how they feel, their emotional state, even how it affects them physically and their health, right, and their illness. So it really opened up my eyes from that perspective of, wow, like, that teaching there, she's taken me back to that time of, yeah, what it feels like when an adult spoke on my behalf, or even now when we assume, right? So I gave this example of, I don't know, maybe I go to a friend's house, right? And just because I'm trying to be polite, and maybe I go to my friend's house, we meet every Saturday, and we meet maybe 8 o'clock at night. So because it's been a long day for me and I'm hungry and I'm trying to be polite, my friend always makes like something with custard. And it just so happens that I hate custard, but I'm being polite and I'm hungry, so I'm eating this custard. And then my friend tells me about this party that we're going to go to, and like, it's going to be full of all of her friends. So she's like, do you want to come? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come. It'd be great to meet new people. So I meet all of her friends, and she's like, oh, this is my friend Isla. Oh my God, Isla just loves custard. I mean, custard is like definitely favourite food. And I kind of at that party go, yeah, no it isn't. And then my friend's like, what are you on about? Of course it is. Like, every Saturday you come to my house and eat custard. Like, custard is definitely one of your favourite foods. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of not, I didn't really want to say anything, and I was being polite, and also I was really hungry, so I just ate the custard. It's that, for me, this really beautiful awareness that I was like, wow, how often do we speak on behalf of our animals, even if we have got good knowledge, but it's still guessing, it's still making an assumption, it's still, or my dog, my horse, my cat, my hamster, whatever animal we coexist with is doing this because da-da-da-da. Whereas when we get to that place of deeper consciousness, we can truly receive what it is like for them. We can truly receive, like, this is how it makes me feel. This is what I like to, this is what I don't like to do. When I'm not heard, when you don't ask me, or a way that I'm trying to desperately show you my answer or express how I feel, as then comes these behaviours that you don't like or you don't understand, or again, you're telling me not to do, but I'm still expressing myself. And this is the beautiful kind of journey that I'm on with Tunkasila, of finding what it is that she needs as she gets into her senior life, and as she gets into this place of wanting to sit down with her and ask her about, hey, what do you need when it's your time to pass? And I'm actually hoping on Saturday, I've put some time aside this Saturday coming, where that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit in this space with her and be like, hey, let's just talk about your passing, like we would do with a family member, a grandparent, or, our mother, father, or a relative, when we're like, look, I know you're still going to be around for a few years yet, but it's also you're aging. So let's talk about this kind of funeral plan. Let's talk about what it is that you would like. We get to do that with our animals as well, from a place, again, of all I can share from my perspective is when our animals share, it's all from a place of no judgment, no blame, no shame, no criticism. And that's exactly what they want to reflect back to us as well. They really want us to live our life from this place. It's almost like that's why they show up in our lives in the first place, to go, hey, there's no need to be judging of yourself or others. There's no need to blame yourself or others. Be happy and heal, be happy and heal. And that's what Tunkasila shares with me all the time. And even when I'm doing like soul work with other canines, or connecting to like the consciousness of canines, it's this share that comes over and over again of like, the animals that are in your life are here. Yes, they may come with their own challenges, things to work out, but also they're here because they're showing you that pathway of how to be happy and how to heal, how to be happy and how to heal. And so we can start to look at that from this wider perspective of consciousness, of intelligence, to go, wow, what does my animal reflect back into me? How do I actually speak to my animal like I was spoken to when I was a child, which then gets to be that place of, and not the only place, right, but a place of any wounds, belief patterns, traumas, pains that we are carrying, not maybe that are ours from a child experience, but also that we carry for our parents, because our parents also passed those wounds onto us that they were just unconscious of, totally unaware of. And then we can start to recognize this wider consciousness of like, wow, how I speak to my dog is this conditioning. I'm speaking like how my mom, my nana, an adult spoke to me. That I'm putting on my dog, of these limitations, these restrictions of you can be this but you can't be that, you should be this, or you should be doing this but you shouldn't be doing that. And so it's in a framework of understanding, of course, from a physical perspective, the patterns, the behaviours, the communication, the way that we can understand from that perspective of how an animal is speaking to us, but then tapping into this intelligent consciousness right down to the level of like I'm going to do on Saturday. I'm aware that you are slowing down. I'm aware that your life essence, that your vital life force is leaving you bit by bit. It's not to say that it's going to end next month, but it's coming. It's coming. So whilst we have this opportunity, share with me, what is it that you would like? And there's always this beautiful caveat. So when I'm doing this with my dogs, I did this for Cola, I did this for Charlie, I'll do it for Tunkasila. When I'm doing it with guardians that clients of guardians of other animals, there's always this sharing of I will share with them, say, hey, like, it's beautiful that you shared this with me, just to let you know that if your human is struggling to cope, if there is a complication, like there is a rupture, there is a bleed, and there's something like you going into heart failure, that there is something where we need this medical intervention of supporting you in passing, supporting you in this transition, like that might have to happen. And what is so beautiful, and it's only from my perspective, I can only share from my perspective, is that every animal that I've done this with, they're like, yeah, that's fine. Like, I just want to share. Like, if it's possible, this is what would be really beautiful. But equally, it's also fine. Whatever's supposed to happen is also fine. It's the importance of being able to be heard. It's the importance of being able to be listened to from that higher place of consciousness and intelligence. And that's where I'm at with Tunkasila right now, but from a different perspective of, talk to me, share with me what this vulnerability feels like for you, because you've always been this like stoic, independent, I got it, I can handle it, don't need anybody. Like, she's always loved us, she's always wanted that company, but in her own way. Yet that's coming through now of, I need you to sit with me, I need you to be just silent with me, I need you to hand feed me, there's just this vulnerability of what's coming through, and it's interesting of looking at, again, it reminds me how I took care of grandparents, or how maybe you look after your parents, right, when they are also aging, of how they slow down. We have a little bit more time, we have a little bit more care, a little bit more patience, a little bit more understanding. It's really important to consider this for animals as well. It's Tunkasila, like she cannot jump in the van anymore. So okay, we can look at getting practical things like ramps and things like that. But again, sometimes we forget of, this is how our dog was, this is how they used to be, and this is how they are now. We can still have that expectation of, like, come and get the stairs quickly, or why are you being so slow here, or even again of me just like how we get to slow down this time. So again, from a practical perspective, Tunkasila is still desperate, like, oh my god, it's walk time, let's just go. She's so excited, and then we're out for all of 30 seconds, and she's like, oh man, this was such a bad idea. So we're spending a lot of time being outside, but just sniffing. And even though it's freezing cold here right now, it might be where you are, but it's so cold. So I'm like wrapped up in loads of layers, and I'm like, but sweetheart, if you want to sniff, like, you just sniff. Like, this is so important for you, because there are so many things now that she can't do, that she used to do, that she loved to do. So supporting her as she is becoming elderly, becoming senior, supporting her and just keep checking in of how she is, supporting her and asking her, hey, when it's that time to come, it's that time to pass, like, oh, it's going to be a pull. I mean, that's going to be an end of an era for what we've been through. As like, there was a time also when Tunkasila and I were in an abusive marriage, and so we've been witness to many things, but yet from my perspective, there's also an excitement, and I don't mean a like, wow, I'm going to be excited when my dog passes, because I'm going to be a mess. Like, I'm going to be a mess. But there's an excitement of like, wow, and who are you going to become when you leave your physical body and transcend, and then become spirit, become part of the invisible realm, become part of, as I refer to as like my spirit team, because I know without any shadow of a doubt, and also because you shared it with me, that when she goes, she's just going to sit here as one of my advisors in the spirit realm. So there's like an intrigue of this sadness and this understanding of like, wow, when we lose an animal, like how we can be in ceremony to support them and help them transition, but then also how we can be with them for them to still share with us of guidance, support, advice, what it is we need. For me, I know Tunkasila is going to be kind of one of my counsel for when I'm working with other animals in this way. So there's this interest of knowing, like, I never ever 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 want you to leave, but I know that is also a part of life. I'm honouring of that, I am accepting of that, I'm understanding of it. But what's going to happen when you become part of my soul team? What journey are we going to go on then? Knowing that in that sense that's never ending until I leave my physical body, and we may be just meet as souls and then go on another physical adventure together, or maybe not. If that answers your question.
You're talking about dying and death, and the anticipation of it. You mentioned that you lost your dog Charlie in December. Was it December?
Yeah.
End of December, right? Um, because you practice this, you teach this, you share, the rituals and everything. Um, how did theory and practice actually come together for you?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. So so Charlie was so again I connected with the Charlie every day to go like, how you doing, sweetheart? And yeah, she was just like, she she just kept sharing. She was like, yeah, I'm failing, but I'm at peace. That's all she kept saying to me. But I'm at peace. I'm peaceful. And I was like, look, we can bring in medical support. We can bring. She's like, and she was aware of it. She's like, no, I'm at peace. I'm at peace. And Charlie was she was at peace to go, do you know what? And just we'll keep going and we'll keep going, and then there'll just be a day where I'll just not wake up. Um and this is what I was talking about before, when we are coexisting with an animal, or a non-human animal, it's a relationship, but we sit down as a family. So there's also my husband to consider, and as much as I love and adore Charlie being my Christmas pants, like Tunkasila is like my heart dog. Charlie was a dog that I loved, but Tunkasila is my heart dog, and Charlie was much more of my husband's dog because she was my husband's dog before we got together. And so of course we're factoring then in, how does my husband feel about this? And he was just like, I can't cope anymore. He was waking up every day, seeing his dog more and more. Just, I'm not eating. And just and I was like, she's okay. She is peaceful. She's fine. She knows what's happening. She's not scared. She's not frightened. She's not in any pain. And he was just like, I can't do it. He's like, and so that's what we have to consider. And of course, this is why we come from a place of no judgment. It's all from a place of love and peace and going, let all voices be heard. Let all voices be heard. And I was like, that's fine. We have options. Charlie knows that we have options. Let me connect with Charlie and just share with what's happening. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. She was just, it's almost like, oh, they love the love that our animal friends have for us, because it's the love that we have for them, right? They are therefore always so considerate for our needs, always so considerate for our needs. So she was like, yeah, that's fine. Like, hey, I'm not going to get better here, so that's fine. If that's what's going to help, then that's what's needed. And so as Stevie just kind of sat with Charlie and he just did his own thing, I went into a ceremony. So for me, like, I really find knowing that we can honour death, and knowing that we can sit in a space when our animal has passed, when it's time for them to pass, and we can really sit in this powerful place to honour who they are as a final farewell. That's exactly what I did. So I have a strength in knowing that for the animal, they just go like, hey, this is like, it's my physical body that's going to go. Like me, like my soul isn't. Like that's like, the soul cannot be destroyed. So yeah, my physical body's not going to be around anymore. And I understand like how that's going to be sad for you. And yeah, I'm going to miss all the things that we had and all our time together. But there's such sense of peace, such sense of almost like, not that, again, that our animal friends aren't like, oh, I'm going home, see ya. Like, I've just been like, of course they've lived their life with us, but the reality is there's a like sense of, yeah, but I get to go home. I get to go back up to land of spirit, land of ancestors, whatever we want to call it. So yeah, I was in this space of a ceremony for Charlie before we took her to the vets, and then when we took her to the vets, I still kept connecting with her and just explaining to her like this was what's going to happen, and just using a few words, just words that I share. If anyone ever sends to me like, oh, can I do a ceremony? Like my dog's just passed, or my dog passed X number of days or months or even years ago, there's always like general information that I send about like what can be done, and one of those things that can be done is just say to our animal friend of just like, yeah, and do you know what, go to the light. Just as soon as you see that light, just go to the light. And so what was really interesting is because from that perspective, there was almost like, wow, I also want to be holding space for my husband, right? He was like, Charlie was more his dog than my dog, although I did a lot for Charlie and with Charlie. But it was almost like, I'm holding you, sweetheart, because you're clearly in a worse place than what I am. And it's important to honour that. And what I really love is about, again, being conscious in every way. So what really fascinated me was how grief worked through my body, because there were tears, but there wasn't really many tears. It's like, oh, Charlie, like, I've loved being with you. Thank you for all the experiences. Thank you for showing me, sharing me. Thank you for all your wisdom, your medicine. Oh, what an honor to share this earth walk with you. And like, yeah, just you're home, go to the light. And that was really beautiful. But it was actually, it's the very first time I've experienced, as far as I'm aware, but how that grief hit my physical body. It was really interesting. I've never had grief hit my physical body before, but I was like, oh, my knees, my elbow, oh, my body, man, is, oh. And so again, I was like, okay, well, where's this pain coming from? So again, I sat consciously with it, like, what is the purpose of this pain? And it was like, yeah, it's grief. It's grief. Just, it's working in its own way. So it's not like, as I say, it's not like I'm not immune from grief. Of course, there's a love, there's an honouring. It's like, I really miss, like, the physical connection of the animals that I coexist with. But there is still, from my perspective, and it is only my perspective, because, wow, grief works in very unique and specific ways to every individual. But for me, there's also, like, there's almost a beauty. I know it's almost like an oxymoron word, right, of beauty around death. But for me, there is a beauty of, how do I get to hold space for this friend that I've coexisted with, just like it would be for a human friend, for a human family member, of like, wow, thank you for being in my life, for all that we've journeyed through, for all that we've seen, for all that we've done. And I'm honouring you, and I'm holding you, and I'm loving you. And knowing that kind of never ends. And so it's, for me, going into that dance with grief as well, knowing that there is a beauty with grief of, again, if we hold on to it, it's still got to come through. It's got to come through some way, and that might end up being through anger, through stress, through frustration, through physical pain that we then don't even look at, we try and ignore. But it's still got to come through. And also from that perspective of, I know it's happened a fair few times now, of, again, the soul journey, the soul message, which there's many soul messages when we are coexisting with a non-human animal, we are having this soul journey, this, I refer to it as an experience. That's all that we're doing. We're having an experience together. So we're having this soul experience, which for some people, that soul experience, that soul journey with their animal friend, when that animal passes, is to allow that human to heal from grief that they've been holding on to. It's not even actually, they're not even grieving that their animal's gone. It's like, oh, but I'm still connected to them, or I understand it from that perspective. But it just opens up, this door for a grief that they've been holding on to for another family member, another friend, another being that died months ago, years ago, way back when, that for whatever reason they were just like, I can't look at that grief, it's too painful. And that's what the animal shows up at that time. So this is what I mean when we step into this place of the wider consciousness, the wider intelligence. It just makes me realise, like, God, I know nothing, because it's so unlimited, it's so expansive, you couldn't even guess to know. But when we connect in this way, we don't need to guess, because the animal in their own way will share with us what is to be so.
You know, you have this gift, the magic gift as a shaman, but say someone like me, and I'm not, I wouldn't, I don't think I'll ever reach your level. I don't think so. I don't know. But as a regular pet parent, what are the ways to try and connect with our companion animals?
Yeah. You so can do it, Amrit. You so can. It's do you know what it always is? It's always the ego that stops us, of, oh, I can't do it, like everyone else can do it but I can't, or what if I get it wrong, what if I hear something that I just don't want to hear, like for a lot of people that's what it is. And when and that's why, like, it's just like a child, right? Oh sweet, does this look nice on me? No, I prefer that green jumper over there. How dare you? But that's just a very unkind thing to say, and you've hurt my feelings. And so the child learns, oh, I'll just not say anything. Like, non-human animals have no self-limiting beliefs or no self-limiting doubts, very much like children have up until a certain age, until we start to put it on them. Oh, that's a talk for another time. But they will always speak honestly and authentically and openly, even if we don't like what we're hearing, because we're asking them a question, right? So they're giving us an honest answer. We're not asking them a question for us to go, but tell me what I want to hear. Because if that's the reality is, if that's what I want to do with Tunkasila, I would have wanted her to say, "Ma'am, it's fine. You go." Actually, I can't even say "ma'am" because that's not our relationship. But for her to say like, "You just go. I'll be fine." And that's what I wanted to hear. That's what I was desperate for her to hear. That's what I was desperate to hear from her. But her words were like, "Yeah, too many days. I need you here." And yeah, so once we, it's almost like a practice, right? So like in anything, I always liken it to, hey, if you want to get strong, healthy, if you want to start lifting heavier weights, if you go to the gym once a month, you're not really, it's not going to work. So it's something that, yeah, we have to make a conscious effort over. It's almost like as part of for me, it's part of a beautiful relationship and protocol when we choose to coexist with another animal. Like, it's like, okay, I'm getting a puppy at the weekend, so these are all the things I need to buy, like a bed, the food, the lead, some toys. These are all the things that I need to know. So, how do I teach the puppy? Is the puppy going to sleep with me? What maybe the things that I need to buy? Maybe put some safety things around so the puppy can't chew things and damage themselves. And maybe I'm going to look for someone who's going to help me like with dog walking or dog sitting. I'm going to maybe find like some friends nearby where I can like socialize my dog. Like, we prepare everything. One of those protocols for me is, yes, and how do you connect to the consciousness and intelligence of your dog? How do you sit like you would with a child and go, and again, in that perspective, a child, how they can express, well, to begin with, they're non-verbal, so they literally see, as we all do, we see everything as energy. So when we're young children, that's how we see life, like, oh, so much like non-human animals. But then we start to told things. So this is a pen. Oh, that's not a pen. That's a pencil. I'm like, well, no, that's not a pen, Isla. That's a pencil. That's a pen. But to begin with, we're like, oh, everything's so amazing. Like, it can be anything. Like, oh, this could be a wand right now. It's not a pen. This could be a wand. So that's what I love about non-human animals, of how they just find everything so exciting. But one of my protocols for me is like, 101 things that you need for when you're bringing up your puppy or your dog. Is not just about the teaching and the training and the diet and are we going to choose to give like medical intervention, like in terms of regular like chemicals of flea and ticks and worms and vaccines, or we're not going to do that, and everything that we should be exploring. One of those things is like, yeah, and how do I sit down and have a conversation with my animal friend to go, what was that like for you? Like, when we travel to the beach, what's that like for you? Well, I don't want to travel to the car and to the beach. Oh, well, I really wanted that. That's kind of why I got you, because I wanted a companion to go to the beach with. Well, I don't want to. Again, this is why they do and can and will share what it's from their perspective. They're not like, oh, I better say this because this will make my human happy. I mean, they share a lot to make us happy, but from a place of wisdom, from this deep wisdom, because then what we start to do is we start to see our life and our interaction relationship from a much wider perspective, and then we open up that conversation of, oh, this is what I expect you to eat, therefore you should eat it. Well, I don't really like that. Or it's the third day in a row that you've given that to me. Like, be really nice if I could have something else. And it's really really beautiful. But yes, it does take practice. And the first practice, from my perspective, is just to let go, is to assume, like, like I said, like, I'm professional, but I assume nothing. I assume nothing. In fact, one of the things that I say to myself in my daily practice is, today is a new day. I know nothing. And I say that in terms of I know nothing, in terms of the knowledge that I have. It's irrelevant. I mean, in some cases it is relevant, but I mean, it's just like, don't allow my ego to get in the way. Yes, I've got knowledge, but don't allow what I know to get in the way if it's coming from a place of ego. But also, I know nothing in terms of, don't allow my past, don't allow pains, wounds, comparisons, and I kind of judgment. And I really do not operate from a place of judgment, or at least I try not to. But there was a time, like I'll tell you, there was a time when I used to so badly, because the reality is, where I hold judgment in another, it's because I hold judgment in myself. Where I hold blame in others, because I hold blame in myself. And so I operate from a very, very different place now. But yeah, coming through of the that place of I know nothing. and I'm not assuming anything, and trusting. Even like, and what will happen is time and time again, you'd be like, oh, but I might just make that up. Oh, but that isn't true. Oh, but I don't believe it. Because the practice is getting out of the mind, and this is where we live from, right? This is where all non-human animals live from the heart. This is where they feel, this is where they respond, this is where they share. We are the same. We are an animal. We are a vibration. We are our heartbeat is more than just an organ, as we know. So it's getting out of the way of ourselves. It's getting out of here and going, my heart, I'm asking my heart as my advisor now. I'm going to my heart as counsel, and my heart is connecting to, or my vibration is connecting to the vibration of my dog. And this is where, again, when we get into this place of wider consciousness and intelligence, that's what we're accessing. It's like we are wires. We are this network that is coming out of us, that is joining our dog and receiving, or any animal, and is giving us feedback. But that feedback, because that feedback is now being interpreted through code, it's being interpreted through information, through vibration. Sometimes it's words, sometimes it's taste, sometimes it's smell, sometimes it's symbols, sometimes it's a metaphor, sometimes it's like, I don't even know what this is right now. Like, expand on it more. Can you share more? Like, what does this mean? What is its purpose? And so being really playful, being really curious, but just like when you are preparing your dog's food, or if your dog is whining, or going into that space of silence for a deeper connection, which is what I do when I want a deeper connection, to receive on a deeper level. So yeah, practice getting out of the way of ourselves, dropping out of ego into the heart, and really dropping in. And yeah, I mean, we can do this as the end of the day. It's just doing a little slight holding on to a question, just a question that we'd like to ask an animal friend, whether it's like, what is your favourite colour? What is your favourite food? Hang on a minute. How do you feel about getting in the car going to the beach? If that's something that comes up. It can be anything, but just to explore the way that we feel. And I'm always grateful, right, that when I'm in a deep space, so when I do my soul sessions for my own dog now, and Tunkasila, now that she's the only dog, or if I'm doing it with clients, I go into a really deep space, so I go into an altered state of consciousness to really receive information on a deep level. And I'm really grateful, because the way that I receive is it's not always like dialogue of da 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 da, like a really deep conversation, but with it will be like words, but equally, like, sorry, I say that I'm grateful because the way that I can receive through smell, through taste, through feeling, like through pain, through words, through imagery, through symbol, almost like sometimes I get like little almost movie clips through the eyes of the animal, that the animal's soul showing me. But sometimes it can be, do you know what, I just know. For a lot of us it can be, I just know. Or yeah, my dog showed me a colour, or I felt something, or it can be like, it can be an image. Like a lot of people will be saying like, oh, I don't really get it because this is what my animal showed me. And I'm like, okay, well, what was the question you asked? Okay, this is perfect sense. Let's hold the intention of the question and look at the picture that you received, and let's break it down. And so with that, I would also say intention is really important. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna connect with my animal this way, but I'm gonna, like, you know, think about what TV program I'm gonna watch after I've done this, or like what friends I'm gonna speak to after. Like, no, we are honouring the sacred here. For me, we're honouring the soul of our animal friend, as we're honouring the soul of who we are. We're saying, hey, I am here, showing up, listening. I'm 100% present. I am fully present, fully paying attention. Share with me. Just share with me. And it will come. But if we're sitting there going, oh, share with me, it's not going to come, it's not going to come, it's not going to come, I can't do it, then it won't. But that's why it's practice, right? And really, the way that I work is very much about being playful. So having humour with this. It's not, you know, there was a time in my life when I'm like, oh, wow, of course we can connect with animals. Like, we can connect with the plants, we can connect with the trees, we can connect with the waters, we can connect with everything. Of course we can. I can't do it though. Like, maybe another time, maybe future Isla, maybe past Isla, but yeah, not now. Like, I can't do that. So I get it, because I've been there before, and so I do get it. I've been in that place. But we all can. We all, when we start to access that oneness that we all are, to that sense of like, right now, I'm not Isla, this physical being. I'm just this network. And this network is going out to connect to the network of the animal now, with that intention and that power and that strength and that love. and that question. And I'm not assuming like I want to hear words. I'm not making any expectation of an outcome. I'm not even wanting a particular outcome. I'm just trusting. I'm in that place of like, I'm numb. I'm nothingness. I'm numb. I'm empty to receive. Not rather than going, oh, I expect this. I want to hear this. Then that's also going to break the connection as well. So if we're just simply in that place of, yeah, I receive. I'm open to receiving. And I trust anything that I receive. And I am so grateful for how you show me. Because of course there's a dishonouring there for like, well, that's not what I wanted to hear. Well, I expected to hear words, not a picture. Then that can also create that disconnection because we're not honouring. We've asked a genuine question to the animal. The animal's open, but then we're saying, well, we're closed. We're shut off. So we need to be fully open and fully prepared.
You know, I have this question. I've always wondered when we have the puppy, like for me, I adopted my dog as a puppy, and when she was 7 months old, and now she's going to be 10 this year. Um, so there is a physical aging of the body, in terms of linear time.
Hmm.
Um, what about the soul? I mean, are they, when they are born, are they like ignorant or are they wise?
Mm.
Am I asking the right question? Do you
Yeah,
understand
you
what I'm saying?
are. Yeah, it's funny because there's just some stuff that can come up that is quite sensitive in nature because from a soul perspective, this is just my share. This is just from my experience. Is like the soul can never be destroyed. So I am right now a physical body, and my name is Isla. That was the name that was given to me. But my physical body is a house for my soul. So I have been many things, which is why for a lot of us, for some of us, for all of it, well, I can't truly say for all of us we've had past life experiences or we've had a past life, but for most of us we've had a past life or past lives that sometimes that will come through in our current life, but we're just, again, unconscious of it. And that's why some people, for example, like some of my friends, they're working through some past life regression where they're like, whoa, I actually realised now that I was burnt at a stake because people thought I was a witch. Or, wow, I was a soldier in a war where like my legs were blown off. Or these past life vibrations and energies that still run through our body, which can be cleared. And that's also true for any animal. So our animal, so your puppy, Tunkasila, have been many things and will be many things, but right now they're a soul in a particular body having this experience. And when an animal is born, of course, from a biological perspective, it's like the sperm and the egg get together and there's a biological body is formed, creates a physical being. But at that time, there is the integration of the soul as well. So that's like the soul that's just kind of like in the ether, in the land of spirit, land of ancestors, whatever you want to call it, is then incarnated, reincarnated, comes back. And that's why, again, we can have these, because our dogs, for example, have a shorter life expectancy than what we do. It might be our dog passes, and then 5 years later, we're like, I swear to you, this is like my Jessie that I had when I was a child. This is just the dog that in every way. And I'm like, well, yeah, it could well be. Or do you know what it is? So we can have these times again, or it might be like ourselves where we have a friend and I'm like, do you know what? Like, I just met this person for the first time and there's just something about them, like whether it's like I'm just instant in love with them, or I just feel like we've just had lifetimes together, because the reality can be, yeah, that's what you've had. Like in another life, you were the best of friends. In another life, you were husband, wife. In another life, you were brother, sister. In another life, you were sister, sister. So the soul has been many things and will be many things. And that the thing what I was going to share, which is delicate, because it also includes all life as well, is that when then the animal is born, and this is why sometimes, and it's not the only reason, but sometimes there can be like a self-destruction where like, wow, the animal's born, but it was only alive for 2 days and it passed. Sometimes it can be like this is my terminology, there probably is a term for it actually, but like a spiritual shock of where the soul is like, wow, I know that I wanted to come down onto this like earthly plane, onto this planet to have this experience, wow, actually it's a shock. Or I just miss. I can't be in this body, and so that's why sometimes those terminations happen. It's not the only reason, or that's why like an animal just passes. So when the animal is born, there is this wisdom, but it's kind of masked by this very young, immature body where they're just learning it. It's like us going to a foreign country and not speaking the language, right? And then be like, whoa, I don't even, like, it's like I'm out my depth. I don't even know where to begin because I'm totally out. I don't even know how to catch a bus. I don't even know how to pay for anything. I don't even know how to ask for like food and drink. I don't even know where it's like, whoa. So to begin with, because being in their body's new. It's like, what? Oh, wow, like I haven't been in a physical body for ages and now I'm in one. Or, I used to be a giraffe. Now I'm a dog. God, that feels weird. So there's a newness there, right? Of like, I'm just getting used to this, and that's what we see so beautifully in puppies, right? Because they are learning to walk, learning to like, oh, what is this? Oh my goodness! Because of course that's what happens, even what babies are doing, and that's from this beautiful perspective. When there's a newness, when an animal is born, yes, there is a wonder of the world because it's a new experience for them. But it's not just a new experience for them from the physical body that they are. It's a new experience for them from the soul that has then come in to be in that physical body to also have that experience and to explore what it's like. And that's when, like with Tunkasila, she's always had that wisdom. And some puppies can be really old, like, and it's almost like the babies where people say, oh, she's been here before or he's been here before, because they're the ones like are sitting up in the bed, wide eyes, going, yeah, well, I know that's a book. Oh, well, I know that. It's like they've been here before, and so they are like just relaxed, I suppose. I can't really think of the word right now, but they are, I guess they're present. You just have this feeling, right, of like, yeah, they've been here before. So you will see that in some young animals as well, of just like, they're like, oh yeah, been here. I'm ready to just impart my wisdom. So it again depends on the soul journey and the soul reason why that animal has come into existence at that time.
Thank you, Isla. It's it's always having conversations with you make me always think about a lot of things, and then I usually have more questions to ask you after that.
That's a good thing.
Like I promised you, giving you an hour so that you can spend time with Tunkasila. Um, but I really want to thank you because I know this is a challenging time for you and the family, adjusting to her needs as she ages. You know, so I really want to thank you for actually making the time to join us today, because you could have chosen not to. So I'm just really really grateful that you did. So I just want to thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And, it's an honor. And for me, it's, yeah, she's slowing down. She's losing life force. I mean, you can see that. But, hey, it still might be another 6 months. It might be another 12 months. I've not been on that journey with her yet. So, yeah, it's always a pleasure and delight to do these with you. And, yeah, thank you for holding that. Thank you for honouring myself and Tunkasila in that way. But, yeah, it's... yeah, just deep gratitude to be here and to share.
Yeah. So so we're going to just end this session so that Isla can be with her family right now. But I want to thank everybody who joined us today for listening in and being part of this monthly circle. So I just want to thank everyone.
Yeah, and likewise, thank you all for joining and being with us and staying. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Wow, I'm so thankful and grateful that you took the time to listen to this podcast. It would mean the world to me if you could subscribe, download, rate, review, and share this with others whom you care about that may enjoy it as well. Thank you, and remember to be kind to yourself and others. Have a awesome day, everyone.